So what's up, guys? Welcome to my spoiler review of Doctor Strange in the mouth of not the mouth of madness, but the multiverse of
Sam Neill's in
madness. Yeah. As I promised in my spoiler-free review, I'm here today to spoil the shit out of everything, and I have with me today Mr. Nick from Movie Emporium. Say hi, Nick.
Hi, Nick.
Oh yeah, okay. There's a funny guy, funny guy. But yeah, Nick has actually already seen the movie twice now. I've only seen it once, but I wanted to talk about spoilers, but I didn't want to just talk to myself about them. So I wanted to get somebody on here to talk about them. I'm not going to sit here and go through the entire movie because we'll be here all day, and I'm going to try and keep this video as short as possible. But I just wanted to cover, some of the big spoiler things and also things that I thought were cool, and just kind of allow an opportunity for both of us to give our unconstrained thoughts on this movie. I do recommend, if you haven't seen the movie and you actually care about spoilers, which if you're watching this, I assume you do, then turn this off. Go watch my spoiler-free review, watch Nick's spoiler-free review, see the movie, and then come back and watch this and see if you agree with any of our opinions. So with all that out of the way, I'm going to jump right into this thing. You know who I am. You probably know who Nick is. So let's talk about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So before we get into the spoiler stuff, or I guess we can jump right into it. I guess I have not seen your review as of yet, Nick, and I don't think you've seen mine. Mine just came out this morning. I know you got to see it a little bit earlier than I did. What were your basic thoughts, your feelings on Doctor Strange and Doctor Strange 2?
Well, I've been looking forward to this film since I found out Sam Raimi was taking over for Scott Derrickson. Scott Derrickson directed the original film. Sam Raimi, as you're aware, is considered one of the godfathers of horror in a lot of respects for modern horror. So I was really looking forward to this. I like Doctor Strange. I like the fact that this movie was going to deal with the multiverse, which is something that can get very, very confusing if you don't know anything about the comics at all. And for better or worse, let's just say it might still confuse people. But when I went into this movie, I heard it wasn't very good. I was still excited to see this. After getting out of watching this movie, I really enjoyed it. I really had fun with it. I think it is definitely a Sam Raimi film. Mm-hmm. But my problems lie with the overall direction, the simple fact that some of the characters aren't utilized very well. And I think the problem with this film is it's such a diversion from the original film, which was actually really interesting and contained and did a very nice job for an hour and 50 minutes. Here is a Sam Raimi problem where he essentially is so reliant on visual and CG effects that it actually deters from the film. And it was such a I want to say, like I said, I went to see it twice. Well, I went to see it because I wanted to see it in IMAX, but I went to see it twice and I really enjoy it. But it's definitely not what I would call top tier Marvel Cinematic Universe film. It has problems. It has Sam Raimi bloat problems for a 2 hour and 5 minute movie.
Yeah,
it's just it's a great film, but it has structural issues, I guess you could say. It does drag a little bit for 2 hours and 5 minutes, believe it or not. So that's where I kind of lie.
Okay. I thought, I honestly, because I know we had briefly talked about it, and I kind of just, because I hadn't seen it, I'd asked you, I knew you had seen it, and would you, don't tell me anything, but tell me, is it any good? Yeah. I was under the impression that you really liked it. So it sounds like you liked it, but you had your issues too, which I did as well.
Yeah.
Which I guess, I could jump into. I agree with most of what you said. I think that I also like the original Sam Raimi. I also like the original Doctor Strange, and I really like Sam Raimi. Evil Dead is one of probably my favorite horror franchise as far as consistency. I feel like it's the most consistent horror franchise out there. So I was looking forward to this movie because Sam Raimi was behind the camera, and I really enjoy his work. However, my thing was, I haven't really seen the point in Marvel getting high-profile directors, which they haven't done for a little while, but early on especially they did, where they get these high-profile directors to direct their movies because they have such a formula, and the directors of these movies are so constrained. It's not that they don't have any freedom, but they don't have a lot of freedom to put their own stamp on things. A lot of the times these Marvel movies, you wouldn't know that they were directed by different people. They could be directed by the same person. And I think that they do that for consistency. I get it, but I didn't really see the point in bringing Sam Raimi on. But I can say that after seeing the movie, I think that he actually did put his stamp on it. While this is very much a Marvel movie, I also think it was very much a Sam Raimi movie. He actually did get some of his stuff through, and I enjoyed that part of it. Now, as far as the bloated part, that was the exact word I used. I felt like there's a lot of stuff which we're about to get to in the spoiler department, fan service and all that, which is, that's what the MCU does now. But there's a lot of things going on in this movie, and I didn't necessarily dislike any of it. And I will say that Raimi did a fairly good job, I thought, of incorporating this stuff into the story better than some other directors have. Like, all of it felt like, okay, it has a place there. It didn't necessarily need to be there in this movie, but none of it felt like, oh, that's like, well, very little of it felt like that's super out of place. I've seen other references and things in Marvel movies. I'm like, they just drop that in there because some executive told them to do that. Now, I'm sure that an executive told them to put some of this stuff that we're going to talk about in a few minutes in the movie, but I thought he did a pretty good job of incorporating it into the story to where it felt as natural as it could. But on the flip side of that, there was so much going on that at times I was just like, stop, just give me a minute.
That's the thing. Like, there are things that are introduced in the first movie, the first Doctor Strange movie, that are not even in this movie. They're completely thrown out the window. And it's like, that's where the bloat and the consistency problem starts to affect it, because you bring in a new director. This is what the Star Wars problem had with the sequels, where you have a director, Scott Derrickson. He has a particular thing he wants to do for the new movie. Kevin Feige's like, no, we're not going to go that direction. We need to do the multiverse stuff. And they start shoehorning stuff out, and then stuff gets kind of thrown by the wayside. And that is a major problem with the MCU, is that stuff that was really interesting in the beginning is no longer here because they've gone in a completely new direction. It's like watching a TV show. The first season compared to the sixth season is completely different than whatever it was going to be. And that's where my main problems start to roll with this movie. But yeah, I mean, I guess it is what it is.
Yeah. And I guess that problem is that's like the MCU being more worried about the MCU than the individual movie itself. So they'll start cutting things out, and they're like, oh, they're more concerned with their world building a lot of the times. On the flip side of that, I did make in my opinion, I thought that this movie was a bit of a return to form for Marvel in some ways. I thought it's been a while since they've made a single individual Marvel movie that didn't feel like it was a universe movie. That felt like they were, hey, we're talking about this movie is about this character. It's always felt like for quite a while, these movies have felt like this is about the Marvel universe and there's this other character in it. I mean, really, since about Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or Civil War, especially since around that time, all the movies, they just haven't felt like they were about the individual characters. They felt like they were about the MCU. And here's some characters. Right. I did feel like this was very much a Doctor Strange movie. I felt like this was a movie about Doctor Strange. Now, to your point, I don't want to say retcon, but just kind of like streamline the character, but so much so where he kind of loses some of what makes him a bit more interesting. Some of those things that they don't have that they did bring up in the first movie, and they just kind of said, well, no, action scenes, CGI, big multiverse. So in that respect, I get it. That is kind of leaning towards the universe, but I do think that they did a pretty good job. I felt like focusing on the actual character of Doctor Strange and not everybody. There were other people there, there were other characters there, and there was world building, but it leaned more towards Doctor Strange with some world building, not world building with Doctor Strange. And I like that part of it. But I am totally with you on the bloated part, which is odd because it's only a 2-hour movie, which in this day and age, we don't get that a lot with these Marvel movies. They're all more approaching 3 hours. And I was kind of refreshed that it was refreshing to me that it was only 2 hours. But on the flip side, I saw it twice. Yeah, but on the flip side of that, the movie, and this is the same Raimi thing, it moves so fucking fast, which all his movies do. It's like he has ADHD. The movie is just moving 1,000 miles a minute, which is great. That works on some levels, and for the most part, I was cool with it. But as the movie went on, it was kind of like, all right, I need a breather. Please just stop for a second, please. And it was just like throwing so much stuff at you. And I think for me, at least, that's why it felt kind of bloated, was because I did not have time to process some of the stuff that was I'm seeing and happening. Is just like bam, 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 bam. It's just like nonstop until the credits rolled. And at that point, it's like so much happened. I mean, before we started recording, I was even asking you about a thing that happened in this movie. And I was like, what happened there? I don't even remember. There's so much going on. And, and I feel like, some people would say, oh, well, that's great for repeat viewings. There's all this extra stuff. Yeah, but I feel like there were aspects of the movie. Sure, there's little things in the background that I missed. Those are good for repeat viewings. But there's aspects of the movie that I missed that I shouldn't have missed because it wouldn't give you the time to process the information it was giving. It was just a bit too much. And I like frantic movies. I like Sam Raimi's style and how he does that. And with something like Evil Dead, where it is pretty just, deadites, ash, kill, it works. With something like the MCU, they throw so much mythology and cram so much stuff into these movies that it's like, I need a little, just hang on. So yeah, I'm with you there. Okay, so but like I said, we're not gonna go through the whole movie here. No. But I do want to touch on some of the big things, the things that people are going to be talking about, the things that people are wondering about, the things that people were talking about long before the movie came out, which was another one of my issues. Not much in this movie surprised me personally, because pretty much all of it had been spoiled by either 100% being spoiled because someone just threw something up on the internet and I was like, well, there's that. Or it had been talked about and leaked and talked about ad nauseum to where when it happened, I was like, okay. But let's talk about them for sure now. Now we have 100% concrete facts. And the only thing really, and I guess I'd heard someone talk about this to a degree, but the only thing that really, I won't say totally caught me off guard, but I wasn't expecting, and I just hadn't thought about it, I guess, was the first big reveal, in my opinion, was that Wanda's the bad guy. Because after I thought about it, I was like, well, yeah, I guess I'd heard that at some point, but I haven't heard it nearly as much as, the Professor X stuff and all that stuff. But yeah, I wasn't expecting that when he's like talking to her in the vineyard, because Doctor Strange goes, and we've seen it in the trailer, he goes and talks to her at the apple orchard and all that. And she says, and I thought that too, when she said, just bring America here, the young woman, America Chavez. And I was like, did he say her name? And then right after that, that's when we have the whole thing. And she was like, I didn't say her name, you didn't tell me her name, did you? It's like, no. And then she turns, and of course Wanda's got this book, what is it called? The
Darkhold.
Yeah, the Darkhold, this evil book that turns, it's the fucking Necronomicon.
That's what I was waiting. I was waiting for the Book of the Flesh to show up. I was like, oh damn, that would have been awesome.
And it makes you evil, pretty much. It corrupts you, I suppose. And so Wanda is our big bad in this movie, and I liked that. I thought that was good. We've had a character that has been good all this time and been a character we followed. She even had her own show where she was, while she was doing some bad things in that show, she was still the protagonist, and now she is the antagonist. And I did like that. I liked having this character that we already had an investment in, and we understood. I didn't agree with why she was doing, or I didn't agree with what she was doing and what she does in the movie, but I understood. And that was one of the great things about, because Marvel's had a villain problem for a long time, but Thanos was a great villain because even though you don't necessarily agree with it, you get it. You're like, I mean, he's got a point, and she does, you get it. She's a mother. She wants her kids. Yeah. And she's kind of crazy because her kids were never real, but whatever. She wants her kids back, and that's why she's doing this. And that's ultimately what this movie is from WandaVision. Her kids, of course, if you've seen that, in the end, they disappeared because they were never really real. They were a figment. She created them, but she wants them, and she says they do exist in other universes, which I feel as if we could poke holes in that, but I'm not going to. But that was
actually a big thing during this. I was listening to people talk, and that was a big thing. They're like, this doesn't make any sense with this whole multiverse thing. But anyway, she wants this America Chavez, which is the young lady, the MacGuffin of the movie. She can jump between universes, between the multiverse, but she doesn't know how to do it. It happens when she gets scared or mad or whatever. So Wanda wants to acquire her, take her power so that she can go to another universe where her children actually do exist and she can have them. And she tells Doctor Strange, hey, just give the girl to me.
you'll never see me again. I'm out. I'm gone. Ain't nobody got to get hurt, and I'll leave you alone. And I just want to go live with my kids. And of course, Stephen Strange is like, nah, we're not going to do that. That's, it's this whole thing about like, the one person for the many and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. What did you may have already known that was going to happen. I don't know. Like I said, it caught me off guard a little bit. What did you think of that? Did you think that that was a good move for them? What you think?
I think, if you watch the end credits or the mid credit sequence in WandaVision, she is starting to develop that Darkhold. And yes, I did know that. There was a synopsis thing put out a few weeks ago, and unfortunately, I did read it, which I probably shouldn't have, because sometimes I probably shouldn't read things to probably be more excited. But having her as a villain is interesting because she's a very, what I call, disturbed soul of an individual, where she is so fucked up because of what happened with Vision, which that whole storyline is weird to me. I'll never understand the whole Vision storyline, but the fact that she had this love, lost it because of Thanos and Doctor Strange, it makes sense for her to be the villain because of what Doctor Strange did in Avengers Infinity War with the Time Stone. So I see her as a villain. I see her, I'm sure any mother out there that has kids will defend their kids as well, at least most they'll defend their kids to as far as they can, and it just makes sense. She has this thing and she lost it. It made her crazy. It made her insane. She wanted to do everything in her power, and it's an interesting because she was kind of bad in one movie and then she became a good person, but she's always been conflicted. And I don't know if her character will show up again, quote unquote, but I think it was interesting. I thought it was a good move, but it's comics, so you never know. But yeah, it was.
She'll be back. She'll be back. On that note, while we're there, we'll jump to the end real quick. We're going to bounce around a bit, but excuse me. In the end of the movie, of course, she goes around and she's inhabiting other Wanda Maximoffs in other universes and making them become her, and this book enables her to do that, and that comes up with Doctor Strange later on too. But she in the end, she the power of love, her children's love is what saves the day. Her kids, she's about to she's more or less about to kill the other Wanda in this other universe and take the kids, and the kids are like, no, don't kill my mommy and all this, and that touches her in places she hadn't been touched in years, and she decides, no, okay, I can't do this, my kids are crying and all this, what's happened, what's become of me. And she literally brings the house down at this little monastery thing where they're doing the stuff, the rituals and all that, and the rubble comes down on her, and she is presumed dead, but come on, she ain't dead. Or she'll be back. We know that this character is going to come back. They don't major Marvel characters do not get taken out like that. Not for good. Hell no. I actually half-ass expected a mid-credit scene of just seeing some rubble move and like a weird hand come out like that or something like that. But anyway,
or something.
Yeah. So, but that is an aspect of the movie I did really like. I really like the villain, and like I said, Marvel has had a villain issue for a long time. Their villains a lot of times just suck or just are underdeveloped, and she comes in already developed, so I thought that was a good move on their behalf. However, I gotta ask, this is a character, because in the end she comes back to the light or whatever, the light side, and so she's left the dark side. Whenever she does come back, I'm sure she's going to be, because she's always been that kind of morose, like conflicted character, and she's still going to be that, I'm sure, whenever she comes back. They're going to try and redeem her. She killed a whole lot of motherfuckers in this movie, like across dimensions.
That is one of my major problems.
A whole bunch of people. And I'm afraid that they're going to, in some later movie down the line, she's going to pop up and people are going to be like, hey, yeah, because the Wanda stands and all that, they're going to lose their shit. And it's like people are just going to kind of forget or let go of the fact that really, if you look at what she did to some of the universes, millions, billions, if those universes
this movie pushes the PG-13 rating It's
Yeah.
close to R. Yeah.
She killed a whole bunch of mofos. Like she wiped out most of the people at the little stronghold, the wizard
Yeah.
stronghold.
Kamatage.
Yeah, Kamatage. I'm really into the verbiage here, but she killed almost all of them, if not all of them. She killed just people, just all over, just murdered people left and right, viciously at times. And I'm like, what? Because it was her doing it. She wasn't like possessed or anything like that. That was just her. Yeah, the dark hold kind of corrupts you, but it doesn't control you. It just I feel like it kind of brings out the worst in you. So that was her doing it. I'm just wondering how they're going to redeem that character, and I hope it's going to be really difficult for me for that character to ever be redeemed. And I feel like they're going to try it at some point.
They might try and do what they did with Loki, try and redeem him in certain ways, even though Loki destroyed like half of New York City.
Yeah, true that. But and I get maybe with Loki it was a little bit easier because obviously in all that stuff that happened in Avengers 1, people died, lives were lost. But you don't see this one. You see firsthand all these people get wiped out, bodies thrown around, burned, and all this, and she just murders the shit out of them. And I guess if you, like you said, yeah, with Loki, he did too, and he was redeemed, but you didn't see it. They've put it out there. We've seen it. We've seen her kill individual characters that we like, but also just swarms of people by her hand directly, literally her hand. I just don't know how you can redeem that character. I mean, like I said, the Wanda stands, I guess she's always redeemable in their eyes, but I don't know how they're going to do that, but I guess we'll see later on down the line.
They bring in the Olsen twins.
Yeah. Oh my God. Is that effectively who those boys would be? Would they be the Olsen twins? Because she's Olsen, and like she's got twins. That's pretty amazing. But anyway, so yeah, Wanda's a bad guy. She killed a whole bunch of mofos, and is she or is she not redeemable? Who knows? We will see. Now, another part of this movie that I guess this is spoiler-ish, and it's going to lead into the big spoilers, is this is the multiverse of madness. I was really expecting to see to visit all kinds of universes.
Yeah.
Two?
Yeah.
It was about, I mean, not including our own.
I mean, in technicality, right? They did go through different multiverses, but they only actually stopped at one.
Yeah, but it was
it's not really.
Yeah. They just kind of went through a bunch of cool ones that I was like, oh, that's neat. And they even mentioned, he was like, were we paint at one point? And she's like, yeah, that's a weird place to be. And I mean, I like the ones we went to. I was like, okay, this is cool. They're very different. And I like these little snippets that they showed of these other universes. But there was nowhere near as much multiverse travel as I thought there was going to be from the way that they've been advertising this movie. I mean, I guess that could be a good thing, because if you look at it like, well, if it was just a ton of multiverses they were in, and you said that apparently there was a longer cut of this movie. Maybe they did.
Yeah.
Maybe it seemed like, hey, you're not focusing enough. The movie's too all over the place. Maybe going to all these different places, maybe it just didn't fit. It didn't work right. And so maybe that was for the best, that they cut that stuff out or just never went there. I did like what we got from especially the one main universe that they went to, the one with the floral stuff all over the place, the one they spend the most time in. I like the stuff we got there and how they kind of explored that stuff, but I don't know. I was expecting more from that. But one thing we did get from that universe was probably that one universe was where all the spoilers were. Mm-hmm. Because the other universe we go to, we got all those spoilers in the trailer. We know that, Dark Strange or whatever his name is and Zombie Strange, we saw it. No. This floral arrangement universe that they go to with the head, what's his name? Sam Raimi alumni. Oh my God.
Oh, Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell. I kept wanting to say Bill. That's his brother, Bill Campbell's brother.
Bill Campbell.
But Bruce Campbell, great cameo, by the way. He's like a hot dog vendor. No, pizza vendor.
Yeah, pizza vendor.
And Dr. Strange makes him start beating himself up with his hand. And that was, which we'll come back to another part about that at the end, but is really, I don't know if everybody's got that at first. At the end part, you can't help but get it. But like that part, I was like, it's like that's an Evil Dead reference, because he was like beating the shit out of himself, and I was like, that's awesome. That's great.
Bruce Sam Raimi has fun with Bruce Campbell. He's either kicking the shit out of himself, or he's the ring announcer or something like that for Spider-Man. But
yeah, that was an awesome one. Anyway, spoiler wise, they go to this universe and they say, well, let's go find the other Doctor Strange. And they go to the I forget what the sanctum, the inner sanctum.
Yeah.
And apparently Doctor Strange died saving the world from Thanos. But the other guy, what is his name? Mordo? Is that his name?
Yeah, Mordo.
Yeah, Mordo,
Mordo.
The guy who went bad in the first Doctor Strange is there, and he takes him in and talks to Doctor Strange and America. But he drugs them and takes them to the Illuminati.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know. And apparently, he didn't die saving the world from Thanos. He died because after they defeated Thanos using this book that they're trying to get to defeat Wanda, that will make it'll give any sorcerer the power they need to do whatever they need to do. That's a very vague thing.
Which they really kind of screw the pooch on in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, but anyway, and the thing, it got destroyed really easy. But anyway, so they go to they go to the Illuminati and they tell them, no, Doctor Strange used the Darkhold, oddly enough, to try and defeat Thanos, and it made him go bad. He did some bad things, mistakes were made. And after they defeated Thanos, that's when they said, you've been corrupted by this thing. We can't let you live. And they killed Doctor Strange. But they put out there to the world that he was the one, so he'd have a good legacy. He was the one who defeated Thanos.
Yeah.
So who is they? Because they take Mr. Strange to the court of the Illuminati. I don't know what it's called. The people that run the joint. And we've all seen bits and pieces of this in the trailer, and we've heard that voice, that Patrick Stewart voice. And we also, if you're as unfortunate as me, you saw a very spoilery video that as soon as it comes on, tons of shit is spoiled right there. Apparently, the people that run the Illuminati are Mr. Fantastic, played by John Krasinski, which that was like fan casting out the ass from for years. They actually did it, which I got questions about. We're going to get to that. Black Bolt, which I just totally, I don't know who the hell that was.
By the way, Black Bolt it's the same character, same guy, actor from the shitty show that was Inhumans.
I heard that's. Yeah. I did know that because I watched Mr. Sunday Movies video about the Eternals because not the Eternals, the Inhumans. Yeah. Because I had no desire to watch it, so I just watched their funny video and they talked about it, and I was like, "Hey, I think it's the same actor." But anyway, also Captain Marvel, who's not Captain, is Captain Marvel, but it's not. Claire Danvers, is that her name or whatever? It's not Brie Larson.
It's Monica Maria Rambeau or whatever fuck her name.
Yeah, Monica Rambeau's mom, right?
I think so. Yeah.
No,
this is where the shit gets confusing because I don't know. They introduce characters and like, okay,
they just
where's
show
this
up.
Character from?
Yeah. But I've seen her before in all the movies. I think it's she was the original friend of Claire Danvers before she became Captain Marvel.
Oh, okay.
I think that was Monica Rambeau's mom, but she's Captain Marvel. And who is the Captain Carter, which I know is from What If, which is Peggy Carter as Captain America, but Captain Carter. And then our big mystery one, which wasn't much of a mystery, Professor Xavier shows up, and he is the Professor Xavier from I'm sure from the comics as well, but the one I remember from the early to mid 90s X-Men TV show with this big. I know people were about it. It's kind of dumb looking wheelchair, but I mean, I know it was a throwback, and I wasn't offended by it or anything, but I was just like, that's kind of funny looking. But anyway, he's.
Well, did you also notice Danny Elfman actually put in a little bit of the X-Men theme in there? As he's rolling up, he's like,
oh yeah, I did. Yeah. When he came in, it was like the X-Men movie theme, because this was just a hodgepodge. It was like 1990s animated X-Men, 2000s Fox X-Men, Marvel MCU. I mean, it was just wow. But that it was like just a hint of it there in the background. Which we're going to talk about Danny Elfman too. Not spoiler so much, but just this fantastic score. But so that's probably the big spoilers of the movie that all happen right there is all these characters show up, and this is the part of the movie, if you're watching in theaters, that you're going to hear the gasps and oh my god and the people losing their shit. But I mean, even though it was already spoiled for me and I didn't lose my absolute shit like some people did and I'm sure will, I was cool with it. I thought it was John Krasinski is that character. I don't want him to end up being. I hope that this is all he does. I hope that whenever they finally do a Fantastic Four movie, it's not him. I hope someone else. Yeah, I hope it was just a cameo. And they say, well, in that universe, because he dies. They all fucking die, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. Best death scene in the movie is one of those, in my opinion. You notice, because Mr. Fantastic's powers, well, I'm sure somebody's going to be like, no, he's just super smart and he's got other power. His big power that we all know about is he stretches all over the place. It's kind of ridiculous looking on screen, no matter what you do, how good your effects are. And if you notice, the one, maybe kind of two in the death scene time that we see him do this is when he kind of jumps on screen. It's almost like the camera's moving and you see it, but it's like real quick. It's like you don't embarrass
the show.
Yeah, they're like, no, we don't. Let's just kind of give the idea peripheral that he stretches all over the place. But I mean, okay, the Captain Carter thing, like I said, what if I didn't watch it, so I don't have as much of a connection to it. I'm aware of the character, whatever. Okay, that's fine, cool. The Captain Marvel thing was just another person dressed as Captain Marvel. That's all it was. The Black Bolt, I just don't have any connection to it, but we're gonna get to him. And the big one there, the big two there were Professor X, which he actually got more than I expected, and John Krasinski is Mr. Fantastic. But what I thought was funny was they're sitting there talking to Doctor Strange, and he's like, look, you guys need to let me go, and we need to do something about the situation because she's coming. They're like, we're not worried about her, we're worried about you. And he's like, no, you need to be worried about her. And they're like super cocky, like, oh, we can take this and we're not worried about her. And then even when she comes in and she lays fucking waste to everybody and everything in her way, they still jump down just like we're badasses, fuck you. And Black Bolt over here, because apparently Black Bolt's superpower is, I don't know if it's whenever he talks, I don't know enough about it, but he can say things, and I guess it's a high frequency or whatever. He's got a fucking tuning fork on his head, and that's actually how they killed that world's Doctor Strange. It shows it happen. Yeah, but he can just destroy anything he talks to or at. Kind of like a what's her name from DC, Black Canary, I guess. But that's what it reminded me of. But anyway, I thought it was the best death in the movie, in my opinion. And this Black Bolt character sitting there, and John Krasinski goes, that Black Bolt, he's talking to Wanda, and he says, that Black Bolt can kill you just by opening his mouth. And she looks at him, she goes, what mouth? And all of a sudden, as soon as she said that, I was like, oh, I know what they're going to do. And it was the fucking Matrix. He had like the no mouth. And he's like, and he made a noise. Black Bolt, this character, made a noise. He went like that, and apparently since it couldn't get out, it just reverberated and went back in, and you see the back of his fucking head. It doesn't explode out, but it just kind of goes like that, and it like collapses on itself, and he's like and like falls over. That was fucking all. I really liked that. I thought that was really cool.
It was crazy. It was like instead of just go, I'm like,
well, it wasn't like bloody or anything like that. It was all within, and his skull just collapses. That moment right there, for sure, I was like, oh, that's like oddly gruesome, but it didn't really show anything. But there's something about it that's just really gruesome. I guess seeing his head collapse like that. And of course, then she turns Mr. Fantastic into spaghetti or something. I don't know what happened to him. But
it turns him into spaghetti. And his head just goes pop.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's fucking awesome.
I don't know what she did to him, but he like disintegrated into strands or something like that. Yeah. And Peggy Carter, or Captain Carter, she either gets cut in half or I don't know. Her shield goes through her, which I thought that was cool because that's been a thing people talked about with Captain America for a long time. That shield that he throws around and bounces off of people, that would absolutely decapitate someone or go through them. If you watch Corridor Crew, they actually did a rated R Marvel thing where they did that. So I was kind of happy to see that. You didn't really see it. They imply a lot. Like it shows like Wanda throws the shield at her and she just kind of shows a close up. She's like, oh, and then like the shield hits the wall behind him. It has blood dripping off of it. So either cut her in half
Yeah.
or segment. It killed her.
And she has one of the worst lines in the movie where she's like, "I could do this all day," and 3 seconds later, she's been chopped in half by her fucking shield. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, the whole "I can do this all day" thing she got from Captain. That's a little bit. Lines like that, I know they're throwbacks and they're supposed to be like ha ha ha, but it's almost like that's almost too much. That's almost a little bit too cheesy, in my opinion. I didn't hate it, but it stops the movie for a second. It happens, it stops the movie, and you're like, oh, wah, wah. You know. I mean, okay. I'll let it go. I'll allow it, but it's just It was I wouldn't have chosen that, but whatever. I get why they did it. And then Captain Marvel, which I've never been a big Captain Marvel fan. Of the MCU's Captain Marvel, but this Captain Marvel fights her for a while, but then she just gets a fucking statue dropped on her and she's dead. So Wanda kills all of them, but then there's Professor X. He comes out and does like goes inside of her head thing. I did like this death too, because I wasn't expecting it to be the way that it was, and this is another time when they went into the horror aspect or realm as well, where he's in her head and he's trying to pull the other Wanda out so she can take control back, I guess. That red mist comes up, and then like some demon deadite version of Wanda comes out of it real quick and just goes and like breaks Patrick Stewart's neck. You don't break Patrick Stewart's neck. What the fuck?
This is like the fifth time Professor X in the film versions of X-Men and Marvel have been killed in some fucked up way.
He's died a few times in these movies, in the Fox universe and this one now. But so yeah, she kills all of them, and they take off and they run. This movie's all about them running. They just are constantly running from Wanda. But those, I think that those, there are other things that happen in the movie, and we'll talk about them real quick. But those are that like 10-15 minute segment right there is the big spoiler part of the movie, in my opinion. That's the part where that's where you're going to get all the all that shit from the people, from these characters showing up and then them dying and Professor X and all that. And I mean, me myself, like I said, I 100% recognize that entire scene and pretty much everybody who showed up in it was 100% fan service. But I think that Sam Raimi, in my opinion, he did a good job of incorporating it into the movie in such a way where it didn't seem too out of place. It seemed like, okay, this works here. This is cool. It's not, I don't feel like a studio exec is the only force behind why these characters are there, even though it may be that. What did you think about just overall that whole thing with the Illuminati, these fan service characters showing up and all that?
I don't have a problem. I'm with you. I don't have a problem with it as long as it's used properly. We've seen so much fan service in the MCU. It's kind of ridiculous. It's with any comic book movie. They're going to throw fan service in there. Sure. And as long as it's not distracting, as long as it's not Morbius where it throws in the fucking Michael Keaton bullshit at the end, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine with it. Having this Illuminati is cool. They did a cool scene. It shows off, that Sam Raimi can still do some cool action and some cool, flair and stuff like that. But, if they had gone in here and it had been like a 45-minute segment where Mr. Fantastic shows off his abilities to do this, or Professor X, is with like Wolverine and fucking Jean Grey or some shit, that stuff would have been like, you don't need this in this movie. But here is to help Doctor Strange kind of come full circle on how he feels about everything. The fact that people look at him different ways, it helps with the Christine Palmer stuff, with her and the situation at hand. It's meant to help, get to their kind of next step in the movie, and so I found that fine. But like I said, if John Krasinski had not been in this movie, it would have been fine with me, because I feel like they just went, let's have John Krasinski. I'm like, whatever. But if he wasn't in it, I wouldn't have cared either way. So
sure. Okay, so we move from there. The big spoiler parts of the movie. I do feel like the vast majority of the spoilers of this movie are just right there. After that, it's I also another thing about this movie, and I did feel like I was still entertained by the movie after this part, because they run from her, and when they get out of this universe and they go to that in between universe or whatever, everything that happens from then on, I felt like wasn't it never got to the highs of the rest of the movie. Everything from then on, I was entertained, but it was almost like white noise, if you will. It was just stuff happening, and yeah, it was cool. I was having a good time, but it felt like they blew their load early, if you will. Like it was like, yeah, this is fine.
Super tropey.
Yeah,
it literally, like, I'm telling you, from the moment they get into that astral plane or whatever, they get that book of Ashanti, which is that book they're looking for. You literally have the MacGuffin is captured by the bad guy. The good guy has to do something to get back to the MacGuffin and the bad guy, and then it ends like we talked about with the bad guy dying. And it's just it's like such a normal trope of 15,000 other movies. It's just done in the MCU. That's the main problem with it, and that's why, you know, I can understand when you say it feels like white noise and just kind of, I've seen that before. Just it's told in a different realm, I guess.
Nothing. There's no more. I mean, there is other multiverse stuff that happens, but the real, you know, jumping from universes and all that stuff, it just, all of it, it was done. They did that. It's not happening anymore the rest of the movie. I mean, they're going to some places, but it's like the rest of the movie is almost like arbitrary. Everything that happens after that is, it's like, okay, we've done everything we wanted to do. Well, we got to give it an ending. Let's hear some stuff that happens. And it was done relatively well. I didn't dislike it. It's just, it didn't seem like, it never got to that same high for me as the movie had already been at up to that point. Now, after this,
I would say that I think the only thing that really caught me and go, oh, that's kind of cool, is the musical note fight that they have.
Oh,
yeah. That was papers and like that stuff was cool, and like the aesthetics of this fucked up world that they get like blasted to is really cool. But yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that. But yeah, you're right. When we go and see Dark Mr. or Doctor Strange or whatever he's called in that world, kind of a emo Strange up here by himself, and they have this fight where they're like throwing notes at each other and stuff like that. It's like classical music and all that, and that was really cool. I did really like that. And I don't know how much Danny Elfman was included in that, if that was just purely a production thing, but that was a really neat fight. And then he just gets thrown out the window and impaled, so it's like, wow, okay, we came here just to get the book. But and after that, of course, the only other character per se to show up until the end credits was the zombie Doctor Strange. And my thoughts on that are, first of all, that body decayed really fast because he died in the beginning of the movie. And then when they bring him back, he's like, his face is half off and all that. I mean, that was fine. I feel like they just worked that in. But I will give them that. I don't feel like the movie needed that character. They could have just had him go. But I feel like they did that that was a way that they were able to work in having this zombie character from What If in there, to do some fan service. But they did it in a way that worked with the movie. It didn't seem forced. So I guess I liked that. I was kind of neither here nor there on the whole zombie thing. I was like, whatever. It's just Doctor Strange. He just looks different because he's inhabiting this zombie character. I mean, whatever.
I think the coolest thing about that is this is what I think Sam Raimi imagines the Deadites look like, those creatures, because they have a very Deadite like feel, like when they inhabit, like if you watch Evil Dead, when they inhabit the body, they have the same voice, the same style. So I imagine maybe Sam Raimi's like, let's do a kind of a cool concept of what the Deadites could look like. I know they're from, you know, the underworld and stuff like that, but I thought that was like a really cool Sam Raimi moment with the creatures.
Oh, the undead whatever things are like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. Yeah. See, I'd forgotten about. That's what I'm talking about. This movie, especially after closer to the end, there's just so much going on, and you never have an opportunity to really breathe and disseminate any of it, to take any of it in. It's like some of it just kind of rebound. I totally forgot about those spirit ghost, know, Freddy's dead characters that like popped out and like run the underworld or whatever, which has never really been explained in the MCU, like the whole death and like underworld, afterlife. Well, now all of a sudden there's just demon things flying around.
That's That's the one major flaw of this movie is there's a lot of stuff they throw in there that isn't explained. Like certain things about how things work. Like they do try to explain a little bit of the multiverse, but it's not really fully explained. The idea of like, what is, like you said, the underworld, just there's a lot of stuff that they're throwing in here that just is either never explained or never seen again. It's like the use of Mordo, which was I didn't like at all, and Christine, which was fine, and just that's where I start to come into like problems with this movie. Is just there's so much in this movie, but there's so much not explained, and like I said, stuff that confuses you, and like you said, what you were talking about near the end and all that.
Yeah, Mordo, he just gives up.
Yeah,
he's like going hard that whole time in this big fight, and Doctor Strange gets out of that little trench that they're in just by doing some parkour. I feel like Mordo could do that too, but no, he just stands there and goes, "Now I know why my other version probably didn't like you," and that's it. And he's gone. I'm like, you couldn't jump out of that hole? You can fly. You're a fucking wizard. What is going on here? And he just
he flew. He actually flew in the movie. He had like jet powered boots or some shit. Or,
yeah, I'm like, you're just done now. I mean, you've been fighting vigorously all this time to take him out because like you see him, and I understand why from what happened in their world. You see him as this ultimate threat. When he jumps out of that hole, though, you're just like, oh, well, I'm in this 6-foot hole. Okay, go on. I'm like, what? And he's just left there. Okay, moving on. But anyway, we get Zombie Strange comes, saves the day. Wanda, oh no, the kids don't want to take their mom, kills herself, brings the house down, and then everybody's like, oh yeah, let's go have some shawarma, and the movie's over. And
yeah,
then the end. We flash forward some weeks or days or whatever, and Doctor Strange is back to normal in New York. He gets dressed like a normal person. He goes walking outside. This was the most abrupt ending.
Well, it's also weird when he walks out and nobody like says, oh my god, it's Doctor Strange. They just kind of are used to it now. Like,
yeah, and in that world, I mean, I guess I get it in that world, but like he comes walking out because now let me jump back. The dark Doctor Strange, which this may have been something from the What If, and I wasn't aware. He has like a third eye, and I guess that third eye symbolizes that he's been messing with the Darkhold, and it's the third eye is bad. I guess it makes him a bad. That's part of him being bad. Doctor Strange does use the Darkhold to get into the body of the zombie and defeat Wanda. So he needs to use it. It's the only thing he can do. Whole time he was doing it, I was like, they've been talking about how this thing corrupts everybody. I mean, the person you're fighting is corrupted by this thing. You're about to use it, but they're just like, whatever. And it doesn't come up again. I'm like, I feel like there's going to be some consequences to that, and there are. In the very end of the movie, he just comes out walking, and it's like, okay, he's walking out, and then all of a sudden he just goes like that, and an eyeball pops out of his head. Over. I'm like, holy shit, that was abrupt. But so now Doctor Strange has this third eye. Good Doctor Strange has a third eyeball in his forehead, and let me say so, it comes up again in a minute. In the post credit or mid credit, the third eye thing. I fucking hate it. I hate that fucking third eye.
It's in the comics, right?
Oh, I'm sure it is. That is something.
It's called the Eye of Agamotto, I think it's called. It's the thing he wore around his.
Yeah, he used to on his cape or whatever, right?
But he had a third eye in the comic. It's stupid. I don't get it. People love it. The whole thing was his cape with the blue patch on the back. It's all part of the comic.
Yeah.
This is maybe they'll be interesting. Maybe Sam Raimi, if they bring him back, will find something interesting to do with this character. But it's almost like now he's a Cyclops. Like he just closes his eyes and can walk around with one eye. It's so stupid. I agree.
I just hate the way it looks. I am not gonna lie. I see it and I'm like, oh my god, I hate that. I hate it. I mean, the implications of it may be fine and like character wise,
it looks terrible too.
Really goofy. I mean, yeah, the CG on it is not great, but just. Even that aside, I just hate the fucking third eye thing. Every time it popped up, I was like, oh, I hate it. I hate that. I hate that eye in your fucking forehead. Now, I mean, that's just me. That's an aesthetic thing, but it is what it is. That's what the movie ends with him. I guess it's almost like you think, okay, did he just go evil? I don't know. It says directed by Sam Raimi. We got credits now. But then we roll into the mid-credit sequence. We get a mid-credits and we get a post-credit. The mid-credit sequence is the one that really had me scratching my head, and I'm sure there's somebody in the comments and there's people out there that know what's going on here, and they're going to be like, well, actually it was this, but okay, he walks outside again, and a character just shows up and says Doctor Strange or Stephen Strange or whatever. It's Charlize Theron. She's dressed up like, I don't know, like an Eternal or something. And she says, you fractured the multiverse, and now you have to come help me fix it. Are you going to? And he like pulls off his cape and does his little turn. And he says, he does his little pose, and his little eye goes whoop, and like pops open. And I was like, oh, I hate that eye. And she tears or rips open a portal or something, like she's tearing cloth, and it shows a bunch of just shit going on over there. And that's the mid-credit scene. Who the fuck was this? I have no idea. I don't know who.
You want me to tell you? I can tell you who it is because I found this out. But it's,
oh sure, yeah, absolutely.
This is the problem. You know, the first mid-credit sequence or end-credit sequence for Iron Man said, "We're gonna do the Avengers." Okay, Avengers, cool. This character is a famous character for being another Sorcerer Supreme, which is what Doctor Strange was. I think her name's Clara, Kara, or whatever the fuck it is. She's basically ends up becoming Doctor Strange's wife later on in the story. And she just, but that's the problem. This is from my angle. I shouldn't have to go to Wikipedia or another page to find this shit out. Okay, if you're going to do a character, bring Charlize Theron, which is cool. Bring in Charlize Theron. Fuck it. I like Charlize Theron. I think she's a great actress. Tell me who she is. Go, my name is blah, blah, blah. Do the lamest dumbass thing. Tell me who she is. And that's fine. Give me the name. So I'll look up the name. But don't go in here going, here's Harry Styles. Cool. Here's Charlize Theron. Who the fuck is they playing? I'm not a fucking comic book reader. I don't know who these fucking people are.
Because they're not playing the Joker. It's not like everybody knows who this is. Like in the end of the Batman, you could have the Joker and everybody knows, oh, that's the Joker. No, this is who the fuck is this person? I don't know. At least give me a name. I don't necessarily need to know what they do, who they are specifically. I assume we'll learn that later on. I don't even have a name to put to this person. It's just Charlize Theron. She shows up, tears a hole, and that's it. And he's like, fuck yeah, I don't know who the hell you are. Let's do this shit. Let's go. Third eye. And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that people that know the character were like, but I gotta ask, how many people know? 99% of the people, 99% of the people watching that movie are going, who the fuck is that?
I didn't wait for the second time to the mid-credit sequence because I already seen it. But even in the screening that I went to before the one I went to yesterday, people in the theater going, what the fuck was that? Like, what the hell was that?
And if
I was expecting like Deadpool or something.
If you're going to do something like that where you have this obscure character, I say obscure, if you know the character and love them, I'm sorry, but the fact of the matter is most people don't know. So if you're going to do something where you have, and by obscure, that's what I mean, this obscure character, at least make the scene like really cool or something. I mean, nothing against what they did, but it was just like she just ripped a hole and said, let's go. And you're just confused. You're sitting there like, what the fuck happened? But I guess we'll find out later on. But after that, there is also a post-credit scene. It is a really great post-credit scene for especially Raimi fans and Evil Dead fans. We go back to shit, I want to call him Bill again. Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell's character. He's still beating the shit out of himself in this other universe. And then it stops. And he just like, he goes full on Ash Williams. He's like, it stopped. Because he's like doing it's even filmed the way it was in Evil Dead, where it's like kind of like almost stopped, just like super fast and sped up, punching himself, his hand, of course, from Evil Dead 2. And he goes, it stopped. It's over. And then it ends. And yeah, it's not needed, but it was pretty cool. I did enjoy that little.
It's like Ferris Bueller's like, the movie's over. Get the fuck out. We gotta bring in another set of people.
But yeah,
that got the biggest pop at the screen. People were busting out laughing when they saw that.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, that got a good laugh at the screening I went to as well. But so that is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness in the whatever this fucking movie's called. But I did overall like it. Yeah, I know I kind of ragged on it here or there about some things, and it does have its issues. But as far as just an enjoyable experience sitting down and watching it, it was an enjoyable experience. I did enjoy this more than most of the MCU movies that I've gotten since Endgame. I will say that. The Spider-Man movie, No Way Home, beyond that one, really, I've been kind of disappointed with the MCU up to this point, well, since Endgame.
Yeah.
So I was happy to see that the past 2 MCU movies I've gone to see, this and Spider-Man, have, you know, kind of, and I really enjoyed Loki too. They have lived up to the hype, at least somewhat. I don't know if they're getting back to what made Marvel great back in the day, but they're doing something else other than what they were doing, because I wasn't feeling that.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like I said, you know, adding Danny Elfman's score, which he actually brings, like we said, he brings in parts of stuff that sounds familiar for Danny Elfman. The way, you know, doing some of the Evil Dead close-ups on the doors, like, you know, fast up and stuff like that. And the way Sam Raimi shoots, it felt like a Spider-Man movie. It also felt like an Evil Dead movie, but it also was fun. I still enjoyed it. Like we said, I have problems, but overall, I think it's one of the more enjoyable, fun times at the theater for 2 hours and 6 minutes or whatever it is. So
yeah, all right. Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. You have now officially been spoiled. Hope you saw the movie. Hope I didn't just spoil it for you. If so, you hung around for an awful long time, and we do appreciate it. Anybody else who made it to the end of this video, I do appreciate it. Check out Nick's channel over at Movie Emporium. Where else can they find you, Nick?
Twitter, Movie Emporium. Yeah, YouTube, Movie Emporium, that kind of stuff. Yeah, pretty much where I post everything. Yeah, I have Facebook, but I don't really care about Facebook. I just post on there for the people who like Facebook. But Twitter is where I handle my business. So
yeah, me too. All right. Well, of course, if you're here, you already know my channel. Check out my channel. I have a gaming channel as well, Jacob Andrews Gaming. Check that one out. Trying to grow it. Got some new stuff coming to the channel. Both channels coming soon. But that is our spoiler review for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that stuff that we always tell you guys to do. And yeah, that's it. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with us for a little while, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye.